Welcome to Shakin, where we provide the platform for entrepreneurs and thought leaders to share their stories in order to hopefully influence others to get out of the rat race and chase their own dreams. If you have any recommendations for guests or questions that you want to be asked, please don't hesitate to reach out. Anyways, if you enjoy the podcast, please like, comment, subscribe, and share in order to keep the podcast growing. Otherwise, I'm your host, Jack Moran, and this is Shakin' Hands. If you're looking for business mentorship, I have a place where you can get feedback on your unique personal development and business growth challenges. Over the last year, I've brought together a group of impact-driven thought leaders where we meet every single day to discuss psychology, communication, mindset, and business case studies. We have people who have made millions of dollars, lost millions of dollars, Harvard MBAs, and new entrepreneurs like you and I. Entrepreneurship can be lonely, so if you're looking for a support system, please follow the link in the description below for some more information. What do you got going on right now? Like, what's your business? What are you up to?
So Sakala is above and beyond, like, built on a foundation of community, and our priority is to have a diverse and inclusive community. So we create accessible space for everyone. And that doesn't mean the same thing for everyone. So we're super flexible with what that looks like based on, who's using the space. And so it does have 4 walls. And I would almost say the headquarters is in Denver because I think I have big plans because I'm a Manny Jen. So I think I'm trying to think how to describe it. I mean, here existing as it is in Denver, it is a space where guides can rent out the space to offer their gifts to their clients. So we have 2 healing rooms, and then we have a larger community space that people use for like events and workshops and classes and trainings and all kinds of things. You name it, as far as like the woo-woo healing alternative modalities world goes, and somebody's offering it in Sakala. This space was created to allow people autonomy and to allow them to show up authentically. So I'm not interested in micromanaging. Everyone has a code. The space belongs to them. I don't believe in ownership. I think we all should feel ownership over that space. And it's important that people do because we also expect the community members to be caretakers. We don't have employees, which is one of the ways we're able to keep the rates really accessible. So we just ask everyone to be a caretaker of each other and the space. We do offer free community events to bring everyone together. We don't call them networking, but of course that kind of thing happens. What we're really trying to create is family and, really shift the paradigm of what it looks like to show up in community and allow everyone to just be who they authentically are, because that's definitely what's missing in our society right now. So yeah, that's kind of a big concept. And I think, we've just been fed this divisiveness by our leadership for so long that's how we move through the world. And I really want to change that. And this is sort of the first.
Well, that's a great mission.
Step.
And I'm going to definitely dig through this a little bit, but
it's big and it's a little scary.
To start off, just to get a better understanding, is your client the guides or their participants or the people that are
the guides?
The guides, okay.
They pay for the space,
and they bring their own audiences,
and then they're their own like solo spiritual entrepreneurs.
So you're almost like a co-work for this
kind of.
That's really cool. That's
so we have a lot of people who rent very regularly. We have 2 full-time spaces that are upstairs, and we have two downstairs that, again, super flexible with how people use it. There are people who want off rent because that's the space that they're in with their business. So they need to know that they have a client and that they're going to get paid to be able to rent the space. And then there are people who rent part-time. So we have a couple of part-time practitioners that are there the same days, every week or every other week. And we automatically offer discounts for BIPOC, LGBTQIA+, and nonprofits. We offer recurring booking discounts, all kinds of stuff. Someone recently asked me if we were doing something for Black Friday, and I was like, every day is Black Friday. I mean, basically, we try really hard to create that accessibility so that, because without it, it's difficult to have a space where, we can cultivate this community that's really diverse and inclusive.
What are the most popular events or classes that you offer? I'm curious to see kind of what
that people offer in the space.
That they offer, or what do the most people come to? I'm trying to see what is the where is there the most interest within your guys' niche?
I mean, it's like I said, it's really all over the place. I would say in general, we have these very multifaceted events. That's what most people are offering in the space, because hardly anyone at this point only has one modality that they practice. So if you ask somebody oh, what do you do? They're probably not going to say, I'm a masseuse, and that's it. Mm-hmm. They're going to tell you, I do sound healing, I do breath work, I teach yoga, I do ancestral medicine, I do womb healing, I do yoni steams. And one of the beautiful things that happens when we have these larger the free community events is afterwards I'll see a reservation come through for two people who didn't even know each other before, and now they're combining their gifts to create this really cool, unique offering. So I would say most of them are very multifaceted, and they combine all of their gifts that they have into one big event. But there's a lot of sound healing. There's a lot of breath work. There's a lot of training, yoga teacher training, breathwork training, psychedelics.
You guys are doing psychedelic events there?
Well, I'm not, but yes, people are.
Like ayahuasca or something?
No ayahuasca yet, but
it could happen.
It could happen. Yeah, I mean, as long as there aren't any laws being broken and people are doing things the way that it's supposed to be done. And, we do ask for certification for these things and all of that.
Right.
Just to make sure. So we do have that policy. But yeah, there's a lot of, I would say mostly microdosing with breath work or something like that.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. We do have a few facilitators in the space that do ketamine assisted therapy. We have a lot of sober specific events, which was definitely one of my intentions going in, because for me, Sakala and creating this community, was part of my healing journey from addiction. And so that was important to me, that people had that space where they felt safe and held, that wasn't necessarily a church basement where they had to introduce themselves as whatever somebody says that they are. So yeah, I know that's a really long answer, but
no,
there's a lot that happens in that space. And we're a little over 2 years old. And there are definitely, I have not even counted lately, but there are definitely over 50 different guides offering things in that space at this point. And it ebbs and flows, because when you're doing energy work, oftentimes you need a break.
Yeah.
And you tend to be really open to messages from the universe, right? And downloads that you receive. And so people also pivot and they shift what their offerings look like. And so they have to do a little bit of that hermiting so they can figure out what's next for them. So a lot of really highly intuitive people working in the space. And I've learned a lot just having it.
Like what?
I mean, just lots of different modalities that I don't think I even knew existed.
By modalities, what do you mean by that?
Well, when I say modality, so like one would be breath work.
Okay.
One would be yoga.
Practices.
One would be, yes.
Different practices. Yeah. Cool.
I guess I call them modalities, but yes.
No,
different. I guess I call them modalities because in my mind, they're different ways of healing. Right. And I think it's so amazing to have all of it in this space. And I try all of it. I do attend a lot of people's events, like personally, and I pay to go to them. I don't like have any expectation around that because it's really important to me to support the community that's in that space. And I do that in many different ways, but one of them is attending people's events as well. So, yeah. I hope that helps.
No, for sure. What has been your favorite event thus far?
Oh, that's hard.
Or newest modality that you've implemented into your life?
That's a hard one. I had tried breath work previously, and there are a lot of different breath work guides, and often they have like their own sort of little flavor to what they do. And so I've been trying different practitioners' breathwork styles just to see, because for a while I had a lot of resistance to breathwork.
Why is that?
Because it's hard.
Okay.
And it brings a lot up. Like if you're not ready for it, I think it can take you by surprise. I mean, sure, you can also have that like sort of like psychedelic breathwork experience where you end up like laughing and whatever, but that's not what I have when I do it. So I'm trying to get back into doing breath work because I think the things that it brings up are important. I absolutely love sound healing because it's sweet. It's gentle. It holds you. It's like a warm hug. Breath work is work. And so it's something that I've had to push myself a little bit more to do. And some of the guides that I've done breath work recently, like I just really appreciate how they hold space for it. And it's been really beautiful. But I often am the one crying during breath work, not laughing. And I get tetany, which is not my favorite. So tetany is when your hands kind of I guess it can happen in other parts of your body too, but like for me, my hands seize up. It's almost like they've cramped. And normally what they would tell you is like, you've got to figure out a way through that. Like that's part of it. Like you've got to figure out your way through, right? And previously I've been like, oh, no, this is not. And then I'll stop doing the breath work so it'll go away because it made me really anxious. Yeah. And the last time I did it, I was able to push myself to just keep going and breathe through it. And it felt like a breakthrough. Like a lot of things came through for me. And oftentimes, as with all of the events, there's like a different focus too. So it helps to sort of know sometimes what that's going to be, because then it might be something that you know that you're really being called to work on in your life.
Is there anything that you've learned through these events, or maybe before you started the business, that you implement on a daily basis, or that's become a habit for you that you find to be beneficial? And maybe it's not on a daily basis, maybe it's a weekly basis or a monthly, but something that you have found that needs to be routine in your life because of the benefit that it has.
Daily meditation, for sure.
What does that look like for you?
It changes. But right now I am practicing a daily Kriya meditation. And this has been, a year after I got sober, I decided to do a yoga teacher training. And yoga had always been a big part of my life. but I really wanted to dive deeper. I didn't know if I was going to teach or what I was going to do with it, but I wanted to find some spirituality on my sober journey. And so I did this yoga teacher training. And since then, I've done a multitude of other yoga specific trainings, and Kriya was one of them. And when you go through a Kriya training, there's a practice that you have to do for a certain amount of days. And then your teacher initiates you into having your own mantra that they intuitively download while they're working with you after you've completed this other practice. And then there's like a whole sequence of things that you do. And it's about a half an hour meditation. I mean, obviously it can be longer, but it has to be a half an hour.
At least.
So I do that every morning.
It has to be a half an hour at least, or exactly a half an hour?
At least.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. So, and when I skip it, I know. Just meditation in general, not just the Kriya specific meditation, but like I can tell. So even if it's a day where I'm like, I might not be able to get meditation in today because of travel or whatever is happening, I at least go in front of my altar and make some offerings and say just like a little something to the angels and archangels and deities and my spirit team.
So in this Kriya meditation, is the only box that you have to check that it's 30 minutes, or what other?
No, it has a sequence to it, but I'm not allowed to tell you what it is.
Really?
Nope.
So I have to go. Is it different to you, or
it is different to me because of the mantra part. The other part is taught to everyone, and that's the part that you do for the. I feel like it was 20 days, but now I'm not remembering 100%.
So I'd have to go.
My teacher would be like, "Come on, Megan." So my teacher taught us the basics of it. And then once you complete the practice for a certain amount of days, then you get to have your own mantra that's downloaded. And one of the things about Kriya is when you do mantra, they always try to remind you, because taking Sanskrit and translating it to English is never quite right. Mm-hmm. So one of the things that they always tell you is like, it actually doesn't matter. It's about the vibration of it all. So like, I don't even know what my mantra means. I just say it. So it's like, well, in my mind, that it's about the vibration that it creates and like the ripple effect of it, essentially. So that's one of the things that they definitely talk about in Kriya Yoga in general. But Kriya Yoga is just fascinating to me. You know, that it's similar to Kundalini in some ways, right? But it was sort of like there was this root and then it went two directions, Kriya and Kundalini. And so there are a lot of similarities. So they also will say things like, call it like yoga technology, right? Because what they're talking about really is, which sounds really weird to people who aren't like yogis at all, but what they're really talking about is like the benefits that it has for you, which are scientifically proven, right? So there are obviously physical benefits, but there are also these like emotional, mental, like spiritual components to it. And so there is science behind it all. This is what I tell my kids all the time, because they're always like, "Ugh, you're so woo-woo, mom." And I'm like, my background is all in science. Like I have a very science-focused mind. So some of the things that are fascinating to me about these different modalities we're talking about is all of the science that backs up what we're saying about the benefits that you can get from practicing these different things. So science is magic and magic is science, as far as I'm concerned.
I agree with that. And it's impossible to obtain all the knowledge. So we're kind of all just shooting in the dark anyway. So you can just like rely on that intuition. For the common man who has not crossed over into this world yet, where would you say is a good place to start? I know the Kriya is a secret, so What
Oh,
other
Kriya itself is not a secret. You could go to a Kriya yoga class.
Okay. Just
The-
your specific
My specific meditation.
Gotcha.
Yes. Um, that's a really hard question to answer. I mean, my path definitely started with yoga. It felt, I think what I would say is what feels accessible to you, right? I think the same things aren't accessible to everyone. I'm really lucky that I live in a place like Denver, which has a huge spiritual community. And we have so much access to all the different things that you could possibly want to try. And it's within the spiritual community, there's actually a lot more diversity, I feel like, than in Denver in general. So you are able to even experience other more ancient ancestral practices that people are using that are from their own personal lineages, which I think is such a gift. But yeah, I mean, I grew up in rural Ohio. If somebody from rural Ohio asked me where to start, I'd say like get an app on your phone maybe and do some meditation or some yoga, because there's not a whole lot out there. Maybe like turn drinking a cup of tea into ceremony each day in meditation. I mean, it doesn't have to be big. Like the walk that you go on can be meditation. I think people are afraid of meditation because they think you have to sit for a half an hour or whatever and not move, and your feet fall asleep and you might fall asleep and whatever. Like none of it is wrong. Like nothing. Meditation can be anything. You can turn washing the dishes into meditation, folding the laundry. I mean, I can't personally. I read the book by Thich Nhat Hanh where he encourages you to do that, and like it just doesn't work for me. But like meditation can be anything. It's really mostly about being mindful. And so I think incorporating little things into your day that are mindful practices.
What does that mean, mindfulness?
Okay. So let's say you are rushing around throughout your day from one thing to the next. And the only time that you have is to pause, close your eyes for a moment, and take 3 deep breaths. That was mindful. You were present in that very moment. You stopped, you paused. Perhaps it's like eating your lunch instead of like what I do half the time, where I like grab a bar and an apple and I throw it in the car and I eat on my way to the next thing. Instead, like, putting together a somewhat decent meal, sitting down, not looking at your phone, just like eating, noticing. It's really about noticing, right? Like, how do you feel right now? Do you notice the chair beneath your seat?
Not until you mention it.
The floor that your feet are touching?
No
like
idea.
the sun coming in through the window? I mean, noticing, right? Being a witness to things. Because I think and I am 100% guilty of this. This is like progress, not perfection, right? It is a practice for a reason. You have to practice. And I can get very lost in like my go, 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 and forget to do those things often. But, it could be 30 seconds and just like taking a moment to like be mindful and be really present in the now, in the moment. It's hard. It's not how we're programmed.
So it's like turning off that autopilot and becoming conscious in the moment.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
And like what I mentioned to you, like that's an easy one. Just, okay, let me notice all the places, all the points that my body is touching another object. What do I hear? What do I smell? You can like just tap into your 5 senses for a few minutes. And like it really can completely change your mood, like calms your nervous system. I think I should speak for myself really. I think one of my biggest issues with the day-to-day in general is just like not allowing those moments for my nervous system to regulate. Because when you go out there, it's all like chaos and energy. And, we live in a city that just keeps getting bigger. And after COVID, like the energy really shifted a lot in Denver. Like I could feel it. And so, like those moments have become even more important. And so I try to start every day with meditation so that I can go into my day already feeling a little more present, so that hopefully I will then remind myself throughout the day to pause. I mean, that's why like our phones, our watches, like all those things have apps on them now that will remind you to breathe. Like you can set all of that stuff. It's trying to make us more mindful, but also perhaps more attached to our electronics.
Yeah, being
it's kind
dependent
of
on it.
like, it feels sort of like an oxymoron, but yeah. Yeah.
How did you embark on this journey?
I was actually just sitting and thinking about this last night, like how many lifetimes I already feel like I've lived, which is just crazy. Like all the different things that I've done, the different places that I've been. But I think that with the intention behind what Sakala is, there are a couple of different things that came together that, you know, got me to the point where I was like, all right, I guess I'm doing this. Let's see what happens. And one of them was my experience with addiction, and my process of recovery and trying to find community within that, which COVID did impact as well. So I guess I could say COVID was a part of it too. And then this other piece, which I guess was also part of, you know, my journey into sobriety, is the yoga teacher training and what I wanted to do with it afterwards. And so after, like during COVID, I thought a lot about what community looks like. And I thought, you know, there's going to be this huge awakening when we get out of COVID. And people are really going to realize like just how judgmental we are and how poorly we treat each other and how little space we give each other to not be perfect all the time. And that just didn't happen. Like we came back from COVID and it was like, all right, business as usual. And I was like, what? So I was really looking for what community meant to me, and I didn't feel like I was finding it. So I had a couple of different experiences within the yoga community of like being like all into one particular studio and loving going there. And, you know, then sometimes things fall apart and those things, you know, communities disband and whatever happens. And so I found myself being like, okay, well, now what's my yoga community as well? And I was teaching a little bit. And I was teaching online. And then I also had quite a few friends who were teaching yoga, and I watched them like hustling around Denver, going to like 4 or 5 different studios, teaching 12 to 15 classes a week, and like not making it as a yoga teacher. And so right around that time, I thought to myself, like, there has to be something different. Like maybe we can do this differently so that people are able to do what they love and be successful, like actually make a living out of it. Because it's hard in the healing world, because there's also this sort of idea of when you're doing healing work, it feels kind of icky to charge people a lot of money because you're trying to help people, right? And not everybody, like you can also price out different communities when you do it that way. So there's lots of different ways to address that for sure. But so Sakala became a space where we offer accessible rates so that people can book the space and then they get to charge whatever they want. Like I don't control any of that. They get all the money. So I'll just use simple math because that's best for me. But so let's say you are a white straight person and you rent the space. You would pay $50 for 2 hours. And then let's say you were teaching a class and you got 10 students to come and you charge them $20 a person. You just made $150. If you taught at a yoga studio, I don't know what some of the best ones pay, but like I don't know, you might make $30 from teaching that
Really?
class.
Wow.
So, and again, that is not to knock these yoga studios, like this traditional model that exists out there. Like it's hard. It's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard to pay the rent. It's hard to, you know, but it's the reason I did things differently at Sakala. It's the reason I expect people to clean up after themselves. It's the reason we don't have employees. Like it's the reason that everybody has their own code and is taught that like, this is your space. This is yours. So take care of it like it's yours. And part of the reason we create so much community around the space there, because I want everyone to have respect for each other and for the space. So yeah, I don't know if that helps, but yeah, I mean, community was really the backbone of all of it. And, you know, Denver itself is not a super diverse place to live as far as cities go. And so I wanted to create space around that too, so that, you know, we could live and be immersed in this like vibrant, rich community of people who are not all the same. Because I think that's how we learn and grow together. And Sakala is a space where we get to remember how to heal together, because doing it alone is really hard. It's really hard, and nobody should have to do it. So I think that's another big piece of it. It's like always my whole life feeling like I had to do all of it alone. And that's a hard place to be. And when you have this whole support system around you, it feels doable, I think. So, yeah.
You mentioned a couple times a battle with addiction. What did you learn from that journey?
Well, I think that let's see. Well, I learned to give myself grace. I learned that I don't have to fix everything for everybody else, and that I need to take more time to focus on what I need and create better boundaries. So on a personal level, those are some things that I learned. But I also think that when we have experiences like that, in my opinion, we have them because we're supposed to do something with them, right? So
It's for a reason.
Yeah.
It's just part of your journey.
Yeah. And so I had a choice at that point. Was I just going to like be in the space of like, I can't believe this happened to me. Life sucks. Like, this is so hard, you know, sort of the feeling sorry for myself, or I could turn it into my superpower. And like, this is what I tell my kids all the time. Like, being sober is my superpower. The experiences that I had, like, they're my superpower. Like, childhood trauma, like any of that kind of stuff. Like, I am now, you know, one of my daily affirmations for myself in 2025 is I am powerful, and I get to choose to use that power for good, because I think it's my responsibility. And it's my responsibility to share my story and to create a space where other people don't have to have the same experience that I did. Like, they have somebody who's there to catch them when they need it. And so, yeah, I think I just felt like it was really my responsibility to do something with that experience. And so that's what I'm trying to do.
I've found life to be a pretty powerful drug in itself. Its rawest, fullest form.
Yeah. I mean, once you open yourself to all the possibilities and you truly believe in your own magnetism, and you also believe that you deserve miracles, because I don't feel like that's what we're taught, right? And I will say that the gift of having children and having the experiences that I've had is like, I get to do it differently. And those are things that I'm going to tell them. Like, you deserve miracles. Like, they're there for you. And you just have to be open to all of those possibilities and believe that you're worthy. And, you know, that's Nobody told me that when I was growing up. I think I was just too much, right? Like, I don't know if that's anything you ever heard when you were a kid, but
Similar things.
yeah. So,
What do you think is the biggest thing that you didn't know embarking on this journey?
of Sakala
Not just like Sakala, but
life.
your life journey that you wish you knew back then that you know now.
I mean, I guess some of those things that I already said, I think for me, I wish that growing up, somebody had taught me self-worth, had taught me how to create boundaries, had taught me that my needs were just as important as everybody else's. I mean, we have this life experience though, so that we can learn all those things. So I'm not like mad about it. Like, it is what it is. Again, like it's always a choice. Like, am I going to choose to be mad about that stuff for the rest of my life and the experiences that I had? Or am I going to use them to catalyze change and to do things differently? And that's what I choose. But I guess I wish that I had been told that I always have a choice, right? It's always a choice. Like, I don't have to do what everybody else says. And I think that I really approach life at this point looking at it from that, we were talking about the whole mountain perspective, looking at the big picture and saying like, well, just because it's been done that way for this long doesn't mean that there can't be a different way. And maybe there's a better way for some people. And so let's just try it. It doesn't hurt. I think the failure piece can be really scary, right? Like I was a little afraid, right, when I opened the doors to Sakala, but I just decided ahead of time that there wasn't going to be flashy advertising, like we weren't going to do like a whole grand opening. I was just going to softly open. I always like to joke that's how I open, softly. So I was going to softly open and just allow it to happen organically and see what happened. And it worked. We're pretty busy. It's like I don't take that for granted. And I try to, maybe not daily, but very often, pause to really feel the gratitude and appreciation in my body for what's being created at Sakala. And it's not what I'm creating. It's what we're creating. The people who are in that space, like, they are Sakala. Like, I just opened the doors and I said, if we build it, they will come, hopefully.
But you're driving the
They
energy.
did. I mean, we're really protective of the energy of the space within the four walls for sure. But I think that because of the way that it was built and the intention around it and my availability for support and conversation and my continued commitment to asking questions, like, I don't assume what people need, because how could I possibly know what everybody needs? Like, I am open to everybody's feedback. I'll have coffee and lunch, and I want to listen to what people are dreaming about and what they want to make happen, and I want to help them make it happen if I can, right? So I think just putting that energy out into the world, like, that's what you attract. And that has definitely proven to be true at Sakala. I feel super grateful for that, And I guess that is a huge lesson that I've learned on this part of my journey, because I didn't even know it was possible to feel that full with, like, all of the people that are surrounding me and the community and the gratitude and the appreciation and the beauty of it all. Like, it's just a beautiful thing. And I am constantly in awe of it. So I feel I don't like to use the word lucky, because I do think that there's work involved, right?
Yeah.
But super grateful.
And it's a testament, because I do believe like your business is an externalization of you. And if you have built this community that's filled with love and good energy, it's a pretty good sign of how you're doing internally.
Thank you for saying that. It's been a journey to get there. But again, Sakala is part of my journey. And so I hold it sacred in that aspect. Like, I'm growing with it at the same time.
What's your definition of success? What are you chasing after?
So it's funny that you say that, because when I first started Sakala, so my husband has his MBA and he's a very business minded, like smart businessman. And when I first started, I was like, okay, so this is how we're going to do it. And these are all the discounts that I'm going to offer. And I'm just going to let it happen organically. Like, I'm not going to force it. I just, and he was like, you're going to what? And I was like, it's fine. It's going to be fine. Did I really know that it was going to be fine? I don't know. There was like a little bit of me that was like, I'm scared. But I really just had to believe in it.
You manifested and generated your outcome.
That's right. Sorry. So I think that for me, let's start with Sakala. So with Sakala, success to me looks like creating this vibrant, diverse, and inclusive community. So, and being sustainable. Like, it's sustainable in the sense that, like, I can pay the bills. And we've done that. We're there. We actually pretty quickly got to the point of being able to pay the bills, which really surprised me. Like, maybe 6 or so months in, 8 months, something like that. And I was like, oh, we're going to be okay.
Wow.
It's going to be okay. And, they always tell you like 2 years or something with a business. And I probably haven't made back like everything as far as,
Initial
everything
investment.
I put into it. But it wasn't huge or crazy. Like, I used the space as is. Like, I didn't have to do a bunch of build out. There were some improvements that I made later when I took over the upstairs area and put in the 2 full-time practitioner spaces. Just because the building's really old, and previously there was mostly like accounting stuff in there, and I guess they don't really care what their carpet looks like or paint or anything. So I had to redo some of that stuff. But so from a financial aspect, to me, in the beginning, that is how I define success. I want to get here. So I guess I take it like in baby steps, right? I would say now for Sakala, I have like this really big vision of what it could be. And I would like to see it expand. I would like to find other visionaries in other cities that are looking to shift this paradigm of how we show up in community and what community really means, like getting back to like this truly supportive system. And like really meaning it when we say collaboration over competition, because like that's definitely a buzz phrase that's out there, but it's hard to really implement that when things when we've been taught for so long to really be divided. And so I would really like to see Sakala expand. I would like to have a foundation. I would like to be able to fund these other cities. I would like to be on a much more national platform. I would like to be sitting in this room with Brene Brown or Glennon Doyle or Rachel Cargyle at some point.
I don't know any of those people.
They're pretty famous. So, I mean, you can... I feel like we are successful. I will say that. We are successful currently. But there's more. There's always more. I'm always thinking big. And that includes taking anyone along for the ride who wants to be a part of it. Because I truly mean it when I say that I want everyone in our community to be successful. And I know that that definition is different for everyone else, but I'm here to support that in whatever way that I can. So does that answer the question?
It's a wonderful mission, and it's inspiring, and I commend you for it.
Thank you. It's a little scary. I just kind of started saying all of that out loud because I've been working with Anna Nichols, the human design business coach. And I have a lot of people who believe in me, and that to me feels like success. I don't think that's something I ever had in my life before. I mean, yes, my husband is probably the most supportive person in my life. I think my kids believe in me too. They just like to roll their eyes at me all the time. But there's a lot of people who believe in me in this community and who trust me. And that feels like true success to me.
Well, they're feeling your energy and your passion, and that is cultivating trust.
Yeah.
And therefore influence. So congratulations. It's
thank you.
It is scary, but again, what is there to be afraid of?
Yeah. I think I'm getting over a lot of that. So that feels like growth to me. Because failure can feel scary, but I feel like I don't know if there is any failure on this path. I feel like it's all just going to be a learning experience. And as long as I can be flexible and pivot and be open to opportunities, that really isn't failure. Yeah.
And we have the choice on how we perceive any experience, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's happiness is a discipline. So failure could be perceived as a good thing or a bad thing, and you have the choice on exactly how you want to perceive it, right?
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't feel good. I'm not going to lie, right? It never feels good, and it takes you a minute, but you can get there. And yes, you can choose like how to look at it for sure.
If people are interested in chatting with you more, or your services or your business, where can they find you?
So on Instagram, it's at Sakala Community. And
how do you spell Sakala?
Sakala, which means the total, whole, complete.
Wow.
But again, it's translation from Sanskrit, so take it for what it's worth. And the website is sakalacommunity.com. And, you know, people have been telling me that probably my personal information shouldn't be on there, but it is. So if you call the number that's on there, that will go to my cell phone, and you'll hear a message where at the end, I can't get myself to change it because in the message, my son is 3 and he's like in his Ninja Turtle phase. So at the very end, he yells, "Booyakasha." And I'm like, I can't change that. So it's not very professional. Sorry, everyone.
Okay.
But yeah, my phone number is on there. I personally respond to emails, phone calls, Instagram. Maybe it won't be like that forever. So catch me while you can. Mainly because again, like I said, I want to expand it all and empower others to step into important roles as well. So yeah, I think that's it. Or come to Sakala, please. Come to Sakala. You're here for a while. You should come to an event at Sakala. I know that you have your membership right now, but there are actually quite a few people who work in that space and also do stuff at Sakala as well.
I'll come.
I mean, the people at Sakala do work all over the city, and we also advertise their work wherever they are if they ask, because I'm not territorial about that. And you can't only be successful in the 4 walls of Sakala. So we support all of that. So yeah, you can catch a lot. You probably know some of them already just from being in the other space, but yeah.
I only have till Friday, so if you have any recommends for events, I would definitely be open to come and checking one out.
I wish I could tell you I had the calendar memorized.
I'll message you and we'll go.
Yes. There's a women's circle tonight. That's probably not on your list, but there's definitely events throughout the week. So
That could be interesting.
yeah. I don't know. I think they talk about a lot of lady things. I don't know. I'm actually attending. I'm excited about it.
Nice.
Because like I said, I try to go to a lot of the events as well when I can, because I actually live in Denver 50% of the time and in Silverthorne 50% of the time. So my life is crazy.
That's awesome, though. It's stimulating.
It is. It's a gift. And I have one kid who goes to school up there and one kid who goes to school down here because my son's on a ski team up there. So,
Oh, cool.
yeah.
We get to move around a little bit. You get a change of
right.
scenery. I like a little change of scenery here and there.
I love it. I mean, it definitely makes, like, I pack it in when I'm here in Denver. And then I go up there and that's where I get my hermit. That's where I get to hermit a little bit more.
That
And
counterbalance
ski
is
during the
important.
week,
Oh, you a big skier?
which is, yeah.
Yeah. I've been doing some skiing while I've been here.
Oh, you have?
Yeah.
Where do you like to go?
So my favorite thus far has been Steamboat, but I went to Copper
Steamboat.
and to Breckenridge as well. Do you have any recommends?
My personal favorite's A Basin.
Okay.
It's been my home mountain for a long time. But my son just got moved up to the next level and now he's skiing out of Copper instead of A Basin, and I'm a little sad about it. My kids grew up skiing at A Basin. It's hard. I don't know what your level of skiing is, but it's
I'm a good skier. I'm a decent enough skier. I've been skiing since I was a little kid.
Yeah.
I grew up in Massachusetts and would go up to Vermont.
A Basin's like a very locally kind of vibe.
I like that.
Yeah. That's what I like about it too.
I liked Steamboat too. It had kind of
I
that.
love Steamboat.
It had that kind of vibe.
And skiing the aspen trees there, like the glades are amazing. Aspen, if you can get up there.
Yeah.
I know you don't have much time, but
I know.
it's a great mountain.
I've got the Epic Pass, and I might come back in February, depending on how this job goes. So,
Yeah.
but it definitely will not be my last time in Colorado. Definitely not. So,
Well, if you want to do like a whole woo-woo series the next time you're back, let me know. I could hook you up with a lot of people.
hell yeah, let's do it. I'm down. I should have hit you up before, because I've been doing yoga like every single day here.
Oh, really? Where do you go?
I go to Black Swan.
Okay. Which location?
Um,
There's two. There's like one on, oh no, there's more.
it's on
There's three.
Pearl Street, I think.
Yeah, Pearl and 13th.
Yeah, I think so. I think, is that in Capitol Hill? Or-
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, exactly. And
I used to go there for a while. I like some of the teachers.
yeah, so what I like about it, I went to the yoga studio that I go to in Charleston is very Western. It's like, it's a workout. Where here has been much more like Eastern, in my opinion, like a lot more spiritual, which is still a good workout, but like I'm seeing a lot of mental benefit from it a lot more. Because I meditate every single day, but it's a separate practice from yoga for me, but it's not supposed to be, I don't think. And so I've been connecting the two within these classes. And there's a lot of, like every class I go to, there's a different teacher. And so I'm seeing a lot of different styles, and it's been more spiritually beneficial.
Yeah, I like Black Swan.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yoga is really a lifestyle. Asana is a very small component. Meditation, like sitting quiet, is more yoga than the asana practice. They're all like, it's all components. Yoga
It's
is
to
really
yoke, right?
yoga. Yeah, yoga is really much more. It's a lifestyle. It's about how the lens that you look through, even, right? It means unity. So it's really about just how you. It's more, I would say yoga is more about how you choose to walk through the world off your mat than it is about being on your mat. But that part's important too. I'm not saying it's not important because I teach it. But that's really kind of how the lens that I try to live my life through is like, how can I live my yoga? How can I treat others how I want to be treated? With kindness, with compassion.
I've kind of interpreted it as like congruence, like, and maybe I could be wrong, but to me, it's like finding congruence in your life, like that alignment between like your core self, your mind, and your body, and then the external world. is like trying to align those things.
Are you familiar with the 8-limb path? Patanjali's? Look it up.
Okay.
It'll help you wrap your mind around. Oops, sorry.
It's okay.
I use my hands a lot. It'll help you wrap your mind around like all of the different components of what yoga really is.
What are some good other books that I like to read?
For yoga?
Just in general, like.
Oh my gosh. Breath by James Nestor.
I read that. That's a good one.
Obsessed with that book.
That's a good book.
It's so good. Gosh, that's hard. I know you don't know who Brene Brown is, but she has a lot of really great books as well. I kind of waffle back and forth between fiction and nonfiction, like depending on how heavy the nonfiction was. So like then I might need a little bit of a break. I would say The Body Keeps the Score. Have you read that?
I think that the last guest just mentioned that.
Yeah. It talks about how like all of our experiences are stored in our body and how they can manifest in potentially unhealthy ways, like very specifically like trauma that we've experienced. And I think the other important thing that I got from that book was that to not minimize our trauma just because it doesn't feel like it was big enough to claim, if that makes sense. So like maybe I didn't have a near-death experience, but I had, a minor car accident, but that trauma can still be held in your body.
Right.
And there are lots of different ways that you can get it out. And so I've been learning a little bit more about that and want to explore some of those modalities a little bit more. Like, they talk about how when an animal has this experience, right? So let's say there's an antelope running away from a lion and it gets away. What's the first thing it does? Do you know?
Repeat that one more time.
Or a zebra or whatever. Some sort of animal is being chased by a lion or a cheetah or whatever, and it ends up escaping. The animal doesn't catch it. What's the first thing the animal does?
Like decompress?
It shakes. They shake.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
So it's like one of the things that they teach you in different types of trauma work, like trauma release exercises, is like shaking, like getting it all out of your body. But like animals just intuitively know to do that. And we do this. And we hold on to all of it, right? So that's a pretty cool book, but heavy. It's a hard. I thought it was a hard read. It took me a little while to get through it.
Hard emotionally or just dense?
Both.
Okay.
I felt like breath, like I felt like it was fiction. Like the way he wrote it. Like I just tore through it like that.
Yeah.
I thought that was a really cool book. I don't know. I feel like maybe that's a prep question you should give people because I'm like, I should have a really good answer for this. But
that's for my own personal benefit too. So I might message you and ask for some more book recommends. I love just people very well read.
Just even Google. You don't have to even read the whole like Patanjali. You can just Google you can Google the 8-limb path. And you can find brief descriptions on it. But it just kind of helps you wrap your mind around like what yoga really is, like all the basic principles of yoga as a lifestyle. Like, I mean, it even talks about cleanliness of your space and your body and your mind. Like all of those things are yoga.
Yeah.
So it's just a different way of looking at it. And I think what yoga being westernized really means is us thinking, when we think yoga, we think asana, right? That is some of the westernization of it. But that's only a small component of what yoga really is.
It's interesting that you mentioned the clean space. And this is by far the longest that I've ever gone over getting the plug. So you're keeping me definitely engaged.
Sorry.
No, great.
I'm a talker. I probably should have warned you.
Oh, no, that's great. I mean, that's what the podcast is for. But it's interesting that you mentioned the cleanly space because I've realized how that is like a big externalization of your mind. So like if you look around and you're environment or your house or your space or your desk looks like chaos, it's a lot of times, I think, a good sign that something internally might be chaotic.
It's harder when you live with other people.
Oh, yeah. I was sure.
Or kids.
Yeah.
You're like, oh my gosh. That ended up
You're messing up my
chaos. Yes. Yes. My kids are older now, though, so I don't. Most of the time, they're good about picking up after themselves. So
That's hilarious.
yes. Okay.
All right. Well, I appreciate you coming on.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
It's been super fun.
I'm glad I responded and
I'm glad you did too.
said, hey, how about it?
Hopefully you had some fun.
I did. Thank you.
Me too.
I like doing podcasts. It is fun. And I love meeting new people.
Yeah, me
So
too.
it's one of my favorite parts of my job. When people reserve the space, I always ask them to come in and do a tour and meet with them if they have time, because I want to know everybody who is part of the community and I want to learn more about them. Like it's the coolest part of my job.
You're like more of a mother than a CEO. You're the mother of the business.
Yeah. My business acumen is maybe not
But it sounds like it's going all right.
super high.
Maybe people could take a page out of your book.
I like to do things different. I'm not going to lie. I'm like, oh, that's the way you said I should do this? Nope. I'm going to do it different.
Yeah, it's leading to a positive culture, which drives a lot of the momentum in the business, which is everything. So
Yeah. Yeah.
So good job. So good job.
Thank
Congratulations.
you.
Congratulations on your success. Again, it's inspiring. You got a great mission.
And thanks for what you do. It helps people like me get the word out.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Maybe somebody back in Charleston will hear this and say, oh, I want a Sakala.
That's the hope.
Yeah.
That's the hope. All righty. Well, appreciate you coming on.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you.